I'll share out to the teacher for you. You don't have to worry about, doing anything extra. My main thing was I didn't want teachers to feel like this is one more thing. I wanted them to see that, or hopefully feel that this is one more opportunity rather than one more thing on their plate. It's only, I don't expect them to get in and observe the full class period. We were clear about that. I don't want you to give up your entire planning period. If you can get in minimum 15 to 20 minutes, just kind of an extended walkthrough, get an idea of what's going on in that class that day. I've heard a lot of teachers say that, I stayed longer than I intended to. I was just going to try to slip in and get my 15 minutes, answer my questions, and they ended up sticking around a lot longer. Some of them ended up participating in class. So there have been some positives, but yeah, to answer that question, we did not do any kind of a special training, but I think it would be beneficial going forward. Any other questions, observations, anything at all? Okay. So we looked at the observation schedule, and all of these things are linked. If anybody wants to, the classroom teacher's name that they observed in a drop down, are the learning targets evident for what you observed? Would you say that students were passively engaged, actively engaged, and even mix? If you observed a learning activity, what evidence did you see of it tied to the learning targets? What were some positive observations you made or had from your observation or your discussion? Did you observe any positive practices that you currently do in your class? Maybe just helping them to connect with things that they identify with that they are already doing. And then do you have any constructive thoughts, suggestions, or ideas for extending student learning? Try to keep it basic, keep it focused, make sure that they're focusing on aligned curriculum that is standards-based and sticks to that, as far as their learning targets and the learning activities that they do. Keep that focus and make sure that I'm getting some good data for myself to look at and for them to be able to give feedback to their peers. Again, nothing's major going on here, just something simple that would give me some data that I can share out with teachers. And so here is the sample of what that looks like. I hid a few fields here as far as the teachers' names, since this is some of their feedback. Of course, their names would be public record. I didn't feel bad about putting that out there, but I did want to hide that from the evaluations that they sent. But otherwise, this is what that would look like. And it gives me a nice snapshot of what they're seeing and what's going on in the classrooms. I enjoy going through these and reading these to see what they are seeing and what their thoughts are. Of course, selfishly, sometimes I know what I see in classrooms, and I kind of snoop and see, like, I'm excited for one teacher to get into somebody else's class because I know that they're going to see something really good. I know that, certain people are great at their planning and their execution and their time management. And I want other people to get in there and see that. Just different things. Some of them I know have great relationships with kids to kind of piggyback off of our keynote. Those building relationships, that's a real key. And I want teachers to see some of those others. And really, that's what it is. The title of this is Be Efficient, Cross-Pollinating. That's what I keep referring to this when we talk about it in our PLCs and different venues, is we're cross-pollinating. My hope is that these teachers get into other classrooms and see the good things that are going on. They see the relationship building in someone's class. They see the planning and the time management in other people's class. They see, just those different aspects of great teaching. And hopefully that inspires them when they go back to their classroom. What I hoped would not happen is that we settle into mediocrity, where somebody goes into a classroom and says, oh, well, I'm doing better than this. At least I'm not doing that. But I believe in our staff. We've got really good folks, good, talented folks. And I think that overall, they are inspired. So you can see a sample of some of the feedback that I got from this, from our other, what I would share out. So how do I share that with staff? Simply, I highlight and copy the header panel. I hit Control and select, highlight the line of the teacher that I want to share that out with. I copy that and I drop it into an email. And I paste it. and send that out in an email to the teacher that was observed. That way they get some feedback and follow up. I found that process for me, I've got about 30 people here that are part of this in our building. That takes me, roughly 20 minutes, depending on how many distractions I have at that time. But if I can just sit there and do that undistracted, it's, around 20 minutes. I find that to be a great trade-off for me, and that I'm getting a glimpse into 30 people's classrooms and their feedback. And it only takes me about 20 minutes to share that out. And not to mention the cross-pollinating of ideas and trainings and things like that's going on, the conversations that are going on between colleagues and between departments and curriculum. A lot of times I know as a teacher, I would just kind of live in my history world and my history hallway, and we would talk about history things and pretty much assume that we were the best and everybody else was just playing catch up to our history department. And that's not always the case. As it turns out, there's some great things going on in science. There's some great things going on in humanities. There's some great things going on in all these other places. And it's been good for me to hear some of the conversations of teachers saying, wow, I love seeing a performance-based class like band. I love to see the constant cycle of feedback that they're seeing in a class like that, or in musical theater. I love to see the way that they're implementing a Socratic circle in this ELA class. Those are good conversations. And sometimes we all need inspiration. Kids are great inspiration to us. No doubt. That's why we come. That's why we do what we do, is because we want to help kids. And if we're not in it for that reason, it's going to be a long, sad journey. But most of us, we want to help kids first, but we need inspiration from other professionals. And I've never shied away from the fact that I'm not the smartest person out there. But I'm glad to have a lot of really intelligent, caring folks around that I can draw inspiration from. And I don't know how many times as I do walkthroughs that I get in someone's class and think, well, I wish I had my U.S. history classroom back. I could implement this. I could do this differently. I could do this better. And so that's been kind of the crux of things for us so far this year. How's it going? What impact has it had? It's too small of a sample size to say right now. Anecdotally, we've had a lot of good conversations. I feel like that's been, it feels beneficial. Is it going to yield results academically? I don't know. It would be hard to tease that out exactly to say what impact it's going to have. I just know that good conversation and witnessing good teaching and good practices is always a good thing. And so I've been pleased with it so far. Like I said, teachers seem to enjoy it for the most part. I've noticed as the year goes on, in the midst of all the, challenges of wintertime and now NTI and quarantines and all the joys of COVID, some teachers have gotten a little bit tired. Some of these responses have not been as full and thoughtful as this. So at my last staff meeting, I reminded them to make sure that they're giving professional feedback. Don't just kind of check the box. Don't do it out of compliance, but really try to help your colleagues and give them good feedback. And in doing so, it helps all of us stay informed. So we got just a few minutes left. I'll try to be quiet. Does anybody have any questions or observations or ways that you've done this and had success that I can learn from? Well, if anybody needs anything, I'm always glad to help. This is just a simple little program we put in, and I think we'll be looking for ways to improve it going forward. But so far, we've been pretty pleased with what we're getting from it, and hopefully what teachers and staff are getting from that as well. If you ever need me, my email is in the grid there for the P3 EdCamp today. Reach out anytime. Be glad to help, and glad to share any documents that we can.
Great job, Jeff. Thank you. And folks, he has put the information out there if you need it. So again, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
Hey, Jeff, before you leave this room, do you have a Twitter account? I feel like I had it before, but I can't find my information.
No, I don't have Twitter.
Does Somerset have one that I can tag?
I don't think our high school has an official Twitter.
Okay.
There was one at one time. So if you search it on Twitter, there probably was from previous administrations, but I don't have one. I don't run one.
That's
We
okay.
have
I'm gonna.
we have our high school Facebook page, and that's about the extent of our social media.
That's okay. I'll just use the hashtag for today. I just wanted to make sure. And
Okay.
we have a big list, but of course I don't have it in front of me. So I'm like, I'm going to ask him to make sure. Thank you so much for your presentation today. I was excited to have somebody from our principal group on here.
Good. I appreciate it. Hopefully it was of some benefit to somebody. But thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Well, and I hope you have a good day of learning today. I know there's going to be some great sessions.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully we have a calm day in the building, and I can soak up all these other sessions.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Betty.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. Appreciate it.
I do want to mention one thing to you, Jeff.